We own one of the world's largest potash mines, certainly the largest in Brazil. And to give you an idea of the size, that market of about $10 billion annually, the Brazilian market alone, we have enough resources and reserves to supply 100% of that market for decades to come.
Next up, Cristiano Veloso, President and CEO of Verde Agritech Plc, trades on the TSE under the symbol NPK. Cristiano, welcome back. It's been years.
Yeah, hi James. Excellent. Very happy to be talking to you again.
Yeah, so it's great to hear from you too. So tell us, Cristiano, what has evolved for Verde since we last chatted on camera? I think it was 2012?
Yes. Time goes fast. Time goes fast, James. Well, we're now a profitable company. We are ramping up production very fast, and very importantly, we just put out a press release yesterday, which was probably the press release we put out in years. And essentially what happened was, for the first time, we were able to get a bank to lend us money against future sales agreements. So, as you know, James, it's a new product. It's an innovative source of potash we're selling. It's a sustainable product, and up to now we had to borrow funds to finance our growth only by discounting invoice or by giving us collateral equipment and land. So for the first time, a bank has now recognized that our product is accepted in the market, and they were happy to lend us money for against future sales agreements we signed. So this is very important because that allows us to reallocate some of our treasury. So some of the money we were saving to carry on funding expansion from accumulated cash flow, now that money can be used to be distributed to shareholders. That is what we're calling a profit for growth strategy. So our P4G, which essentially means that we will or hope to be paying our shareholders while somehow via buying back shares or via dividends, we don't know yet, or a combination of both. We don't know yet what it's going to be like. But the key point is that people will be able to be paid while they wait for us to carry on our aggressive expansion.
Sure. Well, and the share price, the valuation of your company has increased dramatically in the last little while after quite a long period of, I guess, development. And so is this now then the sort of launch of the full commercial version of Verde Agritech?
Well, it's not a full commercial version yet. I like to say the full commercial version will be once we are supplying everything the mine can do on a continuous basis. So we're looking at a much greater multiple to where we are now. What happens is, where we are now, we put out a guidance earlier this year saying our earning per share estimate for 2022 is 50 cents. 50 cents. The stock's trading around $4 with a 50 cents earning per share guidance. For next year, the guidance is to double production from this year, and we've been consistently growing on a triple-digit basis. So that's a little bit why there has been a renewed interest in what we're doing.
Right. And so how has the global marketplace for potash and related agriminerals evolved in the last 10 years?
Well, that also has helped. So if you go back 10 years ago, potash fertilizers were sexy. You had BHP trying to buy Potash Corporation of Saskatchewan. There was a lot of interest in this space. Throughout the last 10 years, this interest dissipated, and it was only last year that people started looking again at fertilizers. There is a big driver for our for potash price increases. This big driver is that the second largest exporter of potash is a country which has been in the media a lot recently. It's called Belarus. Yep. So Belarus accounts for about a quarter of all potash globally traded, and with the US sanctions, the price has gone up a lot. But it doesn't stop there. There's another gentleman who is also in the news a lot recently. His name is Vladimir Putin, and Putin controls another quarter of all potash global trade. So between those two nice gentlemen, Lukashenko and Putin, we're talking about half of all potash globally traded. Next time you look on CNN or CNBC, one of those maps, they're showing about the potential conflict in Ukraine, and that little area they show there accounts for 50% of the global potash supply. So yes, probably for the foreseeable future, we're going to have geopolitical tension as a big tailwind for this market.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. So obviously a big incentive to prefer Brazilian agri-products as opposed to Belarusian or Russian. That's really interesting. So then within Brazil itself, which is one of the world's largest consumers of potash, do you have, I'd imagine you have rather significant market share then?
No, we have a tiny market share because, as you said, Brazil is the second largest consumer of potash in the world. It's the biggest importer of potash in the world, and Brazilian farmers alone spent last year nearly $10 billion buying imported potash. 96% of that $10 billion was sent out of the country for imports. Our production at the moment is less than 1% of the market, a market that grows about 3 to 4% every year. That's why when you ask the first question, have we reached commercial production yet? No, we haven't, because there's a lot further scope to grow, because as you might remember from back in 2012, we own one of the world's largest potash mines, certainly the largest in Brazil, and to give you an idea of the size, that market of about $10 billion annually. The Brazilian market alone, we have enough resources and reserves to supply 100% of that market for decades to come. So it's a very big reserve, very big resource, and very well located right in the heart of the Brazilian agricultural region as well.
Sure. So then why hasn't the Brazilian market been more of a seen more uptake of your product at this point?
Oh, it has been. It has been. We've been sold out, like during the season. Like last year, we were sold out for most of the second half of the year. The year before, we also sold out for a while. So the uptake has been very strong. The thing, James, is different to most of the companies you probably speak to and you have out there on TSX. We have a big aversion to dilution. So our to give you like our capital structure back when we spoke in 2012 compared to the capital structure now, the number of shares issued is virtually the same.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Those years we've issued like like 3 or 4 million shares out of memory from when we last spoke. Has changed very little. The downside of doing that, of course, was that we had to do a gradual growth because we were growing from accumulated cash flow and debt. As I said right at the beginning, the press release we put out on Monday is so important because now with banks accepting future sales agreements, that really frees up a lot of capital. It really allows us to be more aggressive in terms of the growth profile and how we aim to achieve that. Because all we need to show to the banks now are contracts signed with farmers saying they will be taking our product next year, and that's enough to raise money. So that's enough to grow much more aggressively now.
Wow. So, and I see that your press release specifically states that this is the first loan for 10 million reals.
Yes, because we could raise more, but we don't need more money. Plant 2, which is under construction as we speak, is tripling our production capacity for this year. So we're growing from 600,000 tons production capacity last year to 1.8 million tons production capacity. And this is that money is all taken care of. But as we look at building plants 3, plants 4, as we keep on growing to reduce Brazil's reliance on imported potash, we will now have a fantastic access to capital that we didn't have before.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so then, given what is the production profile like in terms of tonnage produced, and how much do you expect to grow that given your new sort of capital resources?
Sure. Our target for 2021 was about 400,000 tons of product. We will put out our result in March this year to show if we were able to get to the 400,000 tons or not. And for this year, our target is 700,000 tons.
Wow.
For the following year is 1.4 million tons. And that's why I was highlighting the EPS guidance. This is the first year, James, we're putting out an EPS guidance, and it's 50 cents for this year at 700,000 tons. So you can do your maths, 1.4 million tons the following year, and then you can work out from our share price what sort of multiples we have at the moment in terms of the potential. The other number people like to ask me about is a number that comes from our pre-feasibility study. It's a feasibility study that was done back in 2017 using some very discounted potash prices, and that study has an NPV, a net present value of $2 billion. $2 billion US dollars, which gives an NPV per share of about $50. So that's the NPV per share from that old study, which we're working on an upgraded version of that study to come at some point this year.
Fantastic. Cristiano, we're going to leave it there for now. That's a fantastic update. I'm so glad to see Verde has been one of the bright spots in the agri-fertilizer industry. We'll come back to you soon. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. Great being back. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.